brutality issue and situation, because I'm in a sorrowful place right now. I'm in a challenging place right now. I'm in a place where I was sharing with a dear friend of mine the other day that I had a brief moment where I wasn't here. Yeah, I don't know, and I didn't know at that moment what it meant. I just know that I needed to articulate that to my friend and see where it was and where it took me. So in brief, this is a challenging moment for me. It's hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We all have to feel our feelings, you know, and our feelings are valid and your feelings are valid. And, you know, I kind of was talking with you a little bit before we came on. I've been reading the book. Well, I use Audible. I listen to books a lot, but listening to the book, So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. I'm saying that last name wrong. Gosh, as a linguist, you know, I need to really be paying more attention. But, and she really, she hits the nail on the head all the time. Like, she does so many amazing things. But one of the things that she said very clearly was, it is not the Black people's job to inform or reform white people. And so while there's a part of me that was afraid to reach out to my friends and say, will you be here today? Will you be on these webinars with us? It's not necessarily to inform and reform white people that you're here. I want you to have I want all of you to have space, as many spaces as you possibly can, to feel your feelings and to be heard and to be acknowledged and to be loved.
You know, I agree with the statement that it isn't our place or responsibility to educate white folk. However, I too believe that one should educate themselves, but in the realms of talking and just having a brief conversation or a candid conversation, like in this moment, I think that it's imperative that we speak where those who are ignorant to what's happening today will know. They will know vehemently that this is how this comes about. This is where we as a Black folk are today. And this is where people open their mind and their hearts, and they're receptive, and they will embrace where we're at. And even though it is in our place and responsibility to educate, we do. Mm-hmm. We do.
Yeah.
And sure, white folk, whomever, should Google, tweet, Twitter, or whatever's online and on these sites to educate oneself. However, when we talk about where we come from, again, we're educating. When we talk about where we are today, we're educating. And it's incumbent upon us as a people to educate no matter where we are today. It's about education.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I agree. And I think that the author's intention isn't to say, don't talk. But, you know, one of the examples, and if none of you have read this book, I really recommend it. So You Want to Talk About Race. The author says, if you have a question that you can look on Google Do it. Don't just call your Black friend and ask them, hey, what about this?
Absolutely.
So it's like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Hey Janet, when I can just go Google. And that's what I think the author was really intending. And I think that was beautifully said, because it is so easy. And I don't want to, point fingers at anybody, but I have had friends, I've had partners, I've had people in my life say, do you know if there's any mustard in the fridge? Why are they asking me if there's mustard in the fridge? Open the fridge and look for the mustard. Or, hey, do you have Joanne's phone number? You have access to 411. You have access to your contact list. You have access to your address book. Why are you asking me?
Yeah.
But I think there's this myth that if I were to call you, Janet, with a question, that I'm actually connecting with you. But to me, I don't see that as connecting. I see that as using you.
Yes.
To do something that I can do for myself.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. My take is that if you want to connect with me, with Janet, find out what's going on first. Then say, hey, Janet, this is what I see and this is where it's at. And, oh, by the way, I found this information and I know this to be true. What is your take? What do you think?
Yeah.
That's a way to connect with Janet. Do your research, do your homework, come to me with some sense, So I agree with what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I like being validated. It's one of my addictions. Like, you validate me, affirm me, we're all good. Just kidding.
Right. Right, exactly. Right.
So I want to ask a question then. So, and I want to invite people in the audience too. You're welcome to, there's a Q&A option where you can ask questions in the Q&A. You can decide to be anonymous. You don't have to have your name stated. If you do use the Q&A and you do not say anonymous, then I will say, hey, by the way, Mary has asked this question. If you just write in the chat, you would want to make sure that you send it either to if you just send it to all panelists, your question in the chat, both Jan and I can see that, but if you send it to panelists and attendees, everyone can see it. So I will assume that if your question or comment is in the panelist section, that we are not to say your name out loud, but if it is the panelists and attendees, that we can say your name out loud. So again, I know it's a little confusing, but I just want to make sure people know. And then those of you who are watching live on Facebook, I will not see your questions. I will not see your statements until afterwards. And so if you are concerned about asking personal questions or sharing personal statements, and I want to encourage everybody to be candid, honest, and open with their feelings. So everybody we love and care about knows where we stand. It's silence and fear well, anyways, we can keep living life in fear and we can stay silent, which is actually just being the cheerleader for oppression. So I think it's really important. If you have comments or questions, then you put them in the chat. And again, I'll honor if you want your name mentioned or not on the video, but the live Facebook people and the podcast people, unfortunately, I won't see your questions or answers or responses until later. So I would love to just check in with the people watching and ask that you all put in an adjective of a feeling word. How are you feeling right now? And if you can't use just one word because you're verbose like I am, that's fine too. But go ahead and if you can, just type into the chat, how are you feeling right now in this moment? We'll just let people type that in. And while they do that, Janet, I was letting you know before we actually broadcast that there's a video I'd like to share with the audience. I don't even know, you might have sent it to me, but I think my girlfriend sent it to me. So what I want to do is, it's about a 9.5-minute video, but it's very powerful. And so I'm going to share my screen and we'll watch that all together. And you and I can have a dialogue about that. And then we can invite other questions from the people in the feed. So I'm seeing a lot of, thank you so much, everyone. Confused, awe, of course I say awe because it's my dad, proud of both panelists. That's you and me, Janet. Sad, yeah, there's a lot of sadness, anger, yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Worried, absolutely. More sad, drawn in, okay. Actually, I'd love for you to write more about what that means to you, the person who wrote drawn in. Sad, hurt, worried. Whew, can you relate to these feelings, Janet?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Prior to me expounding on that, may I say that I am extremely grateful and appreciative for those of you who are articulating your feelings rather than emojis, because for me, I can send you emojis all day long, but when you hear my voice, you hear my pain, and you know where I am. So please continue to articulate what you're feeling, because we need to know that. I want to feel that. I want to feel you, and I want you to know and feel where I'm at today, because all of what you're saying and writing and articulating doesn't even begin.
It's okay. You can breathe.
It doesn't even begin to tell you where I am today, because my first awareness of issues like this was in 1965. So to be able to not use emojis and to really talk to you about where I am today and how I worry and how I'm afraid is huge. So I thank you, Mish, for asking me to participate today, and those of you who are out there chiming in and articulating where you are today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for trusting our guests to be vulnerable with us. If people want to make comments of love, give some love to Janet. Yeah. So someone said, hopeful that my grandkids never buy into the anger and rude comments. Whoops, it scrolled up a little bit for my comments they hear in summer camp. It scares me that they even hear stuff. Janet, you are so brave. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Janet. Love you, Janet. Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting. The audience doesn't know this, but Janet and I met through a smile on Facebook. There was a post and she sent me a message and I said, you have such a great smile. And she said, you don't have a good one yourself. And so the irony here is we became friends through the LGBTQ community, and just sharing a lot of videos back and forth, especially since the murder of George Floyd, and just trying to support one another, but also relate. And of course, I can't relate in the way I would like to, and I don't know that I'd like to. That's actually, nobody should have to relate like that. That's not exactly what I meant. but you know what I mean. I'm nervous. I'm so afraid of screwing up, but I'm not going to screw up because I'm a really good human being and I'm trying the best I can. So there you go. So not only, you know, as a Jewish lesbian woman, I have my own things that I'm up against, but nothing compares to what you're up against. You're not only a lesbian woman, but you're also Black, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, wait a minute. Did you know that? I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Oh, shit. Is that a surprise?
Point of realization, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you have a good sense of humor.
Woo, yay.
All right, so let's somebody wrote surprise. Hello. And somebody else said, thank you so much for letting us see your honest grief. Yeah, sincere love and hope for you. Oh, beautiful, everybody. So we'll take a break for some somber experience now. We're going to go into sharing a video with everybody. Yeah, if you've seen it already, you know, fine. If you haven't, this is a good resource. I will also be providing resources. Wait a minute, I think I forgot to check share sound. I'm learning. There we go. Share sound. I will, at the end of the webinar here, offer a link to resources. And we have actually some repeat callers today, Janet, which is really amazing. Some people were here yesterday and they want to hear more. They want to learn, they want to absorb. And one of the things I'm going to talk more about later, and maybe you can give me some ideas too, is this is a very challenging time. But it's not, there's some differences to the way it's been over the last 450 years, but you know, it's been sparked by a very intense experience that we all watched live, right? And one of the things that I think is challenging for most people who have good hearts is how to be sustainable in their, my girlfriend actually helped me like come up with this, she's got this phrase, sustainable action, sustainable activism. So we'll talk more about, I'm just going to plug that into all your brains for the moment, thinking about sustainable action, sustainable activism, sustainable support, so that we don't just kind of fizzle out again. You know, that's why our country's in the mess that it's in. We lost an election. Well, I don't know what how people vote here, but as far as I'm concerned, in 2016, we really, our apathy really, and silence and fizzle got us into a mess. And we've had so many Black deaths since. And so I'm gonna show you this video. This is called Issei Life, and it's my best friend. There might be an advertisement.
Snap judgment, baby. Now, I need to get a little spit and polish here first. Our next performer, world-renowned MC, poet, writer. It keeps on getting better.
Oh, his name is Ice, not Issei.
Please put your hands together for Mr. Ice Life.
I remember when I didn't know I was Black. I didn't know better. I mean, I had no sense of one group of people being better than or greater than another. At best, I knew that certain people belonged in certain places. For example, the orange people that spoke something my mama called Spanish, they lived in the Fruitville, and they sold fruit in bags. The people who were the same color as my grandma, they were on TV, you know, like the news. And also, they were cartoons. Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Daffy Duck was a duck, but somehow I knew he was the same color as my grandma too. The kids I went to school with sleepy eyes, they were from far away. And they always had rice in their lunch bags. Peanut butter jelly sandwiches and Capri Suns went in mine. My grandma was born Billy Matska in 1933 to a family of poor Irish farm workers. Yes, me, revolutionary Black power rapper man me. My first best friend was an old white lady, my grandma, and I loved her very much. I guess because she grew up poor on a farm, she knew how to make fun out of absolutely nothing. Well, I'd say nothing, grandma'd say nothing. For example, she'd take the peaches that came in cans and she'd dump them in the sink, you know, and then she'd put the cans on the ground and she'd tap holes in the cans. And then she'd run string through the cans up to the height of my hands, and in her groggy voice, she'd go, "Stand on the cans, Isaac." And I'd get on the cans, and she'd put the string in my hands like reins. They were stilts. I'd walk around the yard 6 inches taller than I really was. Clank, 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 clank. I felt like a giant. The kids I went to school with, they made a big deal out of me having a white grandma. Most of us never got to see white people up close unless it was the police. So me having a white grandma meant I got to see Bigfoot up close. She'd pull up to the school to pick me up. They'd go, "That's your grandma?" And I'd go, "Yep." And I'd run off to the car. Grandma had this long, old gold Ford. It didn't have a tape deck. It didn't even have an FM radio. But Grandma didn't care. AM radio provided the soundtrack for old white lady daily life. The songs always had this real kind of, slow, boring, and redundant, easy to dance to. Reminiscent of Jim Crow, but sounds like music to you. But I didn't know they were old white lady songs. I just knew they were songs that my grandma liked. I'd be right next to her singing along. As I got older, I stopped getting picked up by Grandma and I started catching the bus to her house by myself. I graduated from my peach can stilts to bouts of Scrabble with my grandmother. Me and my grandma, we played Scrabble. It's when I first fell in love with the concept of tying words together, Not only did I graduate from my peach can stilts, I also graduated from my naive view on race. By the time I was 12 years old, I was quite clear that in this country, white meant better. Not only did I graduate from my naive view on race, so did my homies at school. They went from thinking it was cool that I had a white grandma to teasing me for it. That didn't bother me. What did bother me, though, was commentary from two homies in my hood, Kevin and Brandon. Brandon joined the Nation of Islam, and he was 19 when I was 12, so we all thought he was like a super grown-up, He'd stand booming from the corner like it was a podium. All white people are devils. They're all racist. They enslaved black people. They enslaved the whole world. It would drive me crazy. I'd argue with him, going on and on about how that wasn't true. My grandmother was proof. She was a white woman married to a black man and had black children. How could she be racist? Here came Cool Kev. Blood. Just because she be around black people don't mean she ain't racist. Black people don't like black people. So white folks don't. I felt defeated on the issue, but not about my grandma. I knew she wasn't racist, and she loved me very much. The summer that I was 14 years old, I went and spent the summer with my brother in Fresno, and my sisters, they flew down to San Diego to spend time with our uncle. When I got back home, I landed at the airport. My mama said, "Ice, where you want to go?" What did I say? Grandma's house. Off we went. We got there, and right away, Grandma started setting up the Scrabble board. She started asking me all the questions that grandmas ask, how was your trip? How's your brother? Did you eat? Like I'm not gonna eat. Did you talk to your sisters while you were gone? No, but Connie wrote me a letter. She said they're getting dark tans down there from all the sun. And then my world changed forever. My grandmother reached across the table and touched my hand. She said, "Oh no, they're gonna come back looking like little niggers." I fell down inside. Then I died a little. I can't tell you what happened next. I don't know if it was nighttime or daytime when we left. I regained consciousness in my bed, weeping, mourning. That's exactly what it felt like. The way it feels to mourn something you hold tight against the fabric of your being. The thing I was holding on to with all of my young might. The part of me that didn't want to live in a world where anyone, and surely not my grandmother, saw me as a nigger, useless, a dumb fuck. For the years that grew into my teenage years, I imagine I saw my grandmother no more than a dozen times. We never talked about it, and I just used it as another layer on the callus to weather day-to-day life in the hood. Recently, though, I started writing my grandmother a letter. I wrote about what I felt like she took away from me that day in the kitchen, how it made me feel. From a space of growth, I also wrote about my travels and everywhere I've been because I knew she'd enjoy that. And for a moment, I felt a certain nostalgia, and it was good to feel her close to me again. My grandmother died before I could deliver my letter. And with her death, also went the opportunity for us to confront this issue and maybe put it behind us. Love conquers hate. But where was the love? Thank you.
So I'm going to unmute you, or you'll need to unmute yourself. I think the biggest reason why I wanted to share that video is because we are now being asked, we've been asked, and we are now being asked to confront these issues. And people are standing up to do so. And there's been some amazing change happening. It's not enough yet. Don't know if it'll ever be enough, right? But that, yeah, I'm just curious what you resonated with in that video and any thoughts you have that you'd like to share.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was powerful. See, for me, again, the old adage, out of the mouth of babes. That's a young, brilliant, articulate young man. And he said it in a few words. We don't have to go on and on to bring about a message. And the message for me was my whole life changed in that very brief moment. Because what it said for me is that the way I thought about how I want to live my life, it encompasses embracing my grandkids, embracing my great-grandson, embracing my family, friends, and loved one, and not just about who I am. Because for 40 years, I worked for my family, friends, and loved ones. And when I retired, I said I wanted to do it different. I don't want to live for my great kids, my great grandkids. That just changed. Because what was really, really important was that, contrary to what she said in the end, she sat with that baby and she made him feel as powerful as he could feel on 6-inch cans or without. And that'll never change for him. That will never change because he still felt that moment of nostalgia and wanted to reach out to her. As brief as it was, she gave that to him. And that's what I want to do with my great grandkids and my grandkids and my family and friends and loved ones. So for me, that changed my perspective and where I want to be in life. And that was huge for me. That was huge. You see, what people don't understand is this moment today is not just about the brutality, the racism. It's about a whole life change. It's about going back and identifying where you were and reckoning with that and bring about a change for where you are today. Mm-hmm. And not sitting in that moment of where you were, but changing it. And we as a people, we have to change who we are. Yeah. Every one of us. We have to educate, we have to talk to our babies. And we have to start at home. We have to start within. And so listening to that young man, because for him, to me, he's a baby. He's one of my babies. Mm-hmm. And so
do you believe what he said, that love is stronger than hate?
For me, I definitely believe that. I definitely believe that. And I'll tell you why. Because I worked with a lot of men, a lot of white guys, you know, and we all know, and I knew, and I know what their perception of females and the industry is and was and always will be. However, what I brought to the table was a different view of them by my actions, by not fueling that hatred that they may have, by showing them the love that I have for me and where I am today, and my attitude and my perception exuded that love. And you know what? It changed how they came to me. It changed how they dealt with me and others like me. And so, yes, I believe that. I believe that.
You're such a great speaker, Janet. You should do more speaking. You're a great speaker.
Thank you.
It really touched my heart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there are people who are, people put in the comments. Yeah, I didn't even notice. I was so entranced listening to you speak. So people wrote down that the video was powerful. Another person responded, love wins, love conquers all. Thumbs up and awesome to, believe it was to what you just said. And I'm wondering the people that are on the webinar, if you have questions or thoughts, or maybe you don't even know where to begin. Go ahead and type questions or thoughts into the chat and we'll address them as we see them. I'm just curious, we have about 20 minutes left, and I just wondering if there's anything on your heart that you feel like you just need to get out, that you want to share with the people who are listening, watching. You know, I don't want to put pressure on you. I don't want to put you on the spot, and I guess I just did, but you get to tell me how you want it, how we can use this time. I don't, like I said, I don't want to have the mic the whole time, but I really want this space to be for you. And I will make sure I mention to people again that I have a resource list that I will email out after this whole thing is over. If you registered for the webinar, I have your email address, and I will be sending a link to my resource list that has books and films and presentations and podcasts and donation location websites, as well as other resources. So I'm happy to send that to everybody when the video has finished downloading and all that tonight. But yeah, so Janet, I just want to give you that space if there's anything you want to tell people or share.
I think what's been resonating in my head and my heart and my mind's eye recently, which is what the past couple of weeks, it's been comments and emojis on Facebook, from all walks of life, mind you, not just from white folk being ignorant, but Black folks who have been ignorant to what's happening today. And what resonated with me again is that why are people doing this? They are stupid. Don't they know this is their community? This is not going to change. This is not going to bring Mr. George Floyd back. I stopped and I said, whoa, okay, Janet, this is not to feel your anger. This is to feel your passion and your responsibility to educate those who are ignorant, those who do not know from whence you've come, and many like me. In the beginning, I started out by saying that my first awareness of racism and brutality and economical challenges for folk like myself was in 1965, the infamous Watts riot in Los Angeles. And I recall National Guard being in my backyard and in our areas being burned down, and many of the places that we frequent as kids burned and closed, and the streets looking like that they were in a war zone. So it's imperative that I say this is just not beginning today. This did not happen or start with Mr. Floyd's life.
Yeah.
You know, this goes back to my great grandparents and their parents and the parents before them. Mm-hmm. And people are trying to wrap their heads around the destruction and the craziness. Well, I tell you that, in my opinion, it's like the battered wife syndrome. You'll beat the shit out of her days in, days out, and she'll come back until one day she's tired. And her only way to show you she's tired is to react. And she may react in a way that's way off the chart to those who don't even understand where she came from. They don't even know why. Well, that's why she's tired. And she's tired of being tired. And she's tired of being pummeled. And she's tired of reliving that first day that she was beat. Well, each and every time one of my brothers and sisters, yours also, is either pummeled to death or simply pummeled to where they can't speak anymore. Each time I see and I hear that, I get to relive the very first day that I didn't understand why Black people were being killed and slaughtered and hung. And why because we look like we look. So each day for me, I'll never get over it. I'll never get over it because it keeps happening and it keeps happening. And so the pain becomes insurmountable. It's like cancer. And the only way the only way for me to not continue to hurt and to be in pain is to share and to educate. And let my grandkids and my babies, be it white, Black, Hispanic, the Native American, whomever, if I don't educate them and let them know this is why this is happening, I'm going to keep reliving this. I'm going to keep living it. I'm going to keep feeling the pain. You know, and I think about the Jim Crow.
That's bad for you, by the way. I wouldn't do that. No, I'm sorry, not to add humor, but yeah.
You know, this white man perpetrated being Black so that he could humor his white counterparts, his white folk, his audience. And then 10 years later, 10 years later, the Democrats that's funny to me. It's funny because, see, people don't understand that it was the Democrats back then who created laws to keep us down, to keep Black folk down, and to keep their foot on our necks, if you will. Yeah, the Democrats.
Would you be willing to explain that a little bit?
My reasons for saying that is today, people don't understand why they're blaming Democrats for a lot of where we are today. And a lot of our folks, a lot of the Black folks think that, or thought that it was the Democrats back in the day that created this march or this movement for us to vote. It was systemic back then.
Yeah.
It was systemic to make us think that, oh yeah, they got our backs, and we're gonna do this so that Black folks can work and Black folks can do this. They gave us welfare and they gave us subsistence. It was methodical, it was systemic, and it was the plot to make Black folk think, oh yeah, we got your back, but we need your vote. We need your vote. So what I'm saying is the systematic bullshit and the issues today didn't start with Mr. George Floyd.
Right.
It didn't start with Trump. It didn't. Sure, there are folks that are utilizing their positions to make moves because it's something that benefits them. It is something that will heighten, if you will, their game. Yeah, we all get that, right?
It's a capitalist.
But it didn't start.
Right? I mean, it's a capitalist country. It's all for gain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It didn't start there. So for me, it's just about everybody educating themselves, you know. And please make no bones about it. What I'm saying doesn't take away, it doesn't diminish, nor does it minimize what is going on with the brutality and the deaths and the systemic madness that our country is allowing to happen. But I think as a people, we need to know the big picture. We need to know all that's happening. And yeah, we need to know that it goes back 400 plus years.
Yeah.
You know, and this is why, as a Black person, I'm pissed. I'm angry. I want to tear some shit up. But see, I learned to pick my battles, and I learned how to renavigate my energy, and I learned how to do it in a different way, you know.
But that
And
doesn't
so
change that you're not allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be angry. We are all allowed to be angry. What you're saying is how to take that anger and how to manifest what you need with that anger in the right direction, in the right
channel it in a different direction. Absolutely. And that's for me. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to channel it in the direction in which I am going, because we need the directions for all. I love my I love my millennials and my generation Ys, because like my mom and my dad, they were the millennials and the generation Ys. You know, I was that generation. But so back in the day, they used newspapers. They use newspapers, and they use what radio they have. Well, today we have videos. Thank God. Thank God for this technology, you know, for people to be informed. So, wow, for me, Misha, I just think I don't think in my lifetime we'll see the systemic change that we need. You know, today I'm 62, and I just want to make sure that my great grandkids and my grandkids and my babies know, you know, what it is, and I want to teach my babies where to start, and that's at home with ourselves. And I educate them, and they need to know that, and it's imperative that we as a people, you know, we change here, you know, and we talk to our babies, and we change their perception and our thoughts. And I said that, you know, we're so freaking worried about our kids being honor roll students and the bumper stickers, and my kid is an honor roll, but that kid is over there pummeling folks and calling people, you know, bad names and stuff. What happened to the basics? Yeah. What happened to teaching them love and consideration, and teaching them how to care about people, how to volunteer, how to share? You know, where did we go wrong? Also, because we cannot continue to perpetuate what was happening and what is happening today. We must change that. My friend said that we are a decaying society. And what I took from that is all of those ethics and morals and scruples are rotting, and we're losing them. And that's what I took from what she said. I thank you, Misha, for asking me to share and to talk about this, because my kids are getting the brunt of.
They're like, Mom, talk to somebody else.
They're like,
I don't want to listen anymore. But you know, one of the things I want to mention in the comments, those people who are listening, someone had put in the comments, it is 400 years of homegrown racism, AKA terrorism, that we all need to resist. And that's when Janet said, yes, 400 years. I just want to explain that a little bit. And then someone just wrote in, it truly is systemic madness. And I'm seeing more every day how it began and has continued for centuries. And so I have two things I wanted to put out there. One, you know, you talked about your neighborhood in Los Angeles. I don't even know that story. And yet I just learned about Greenwood, and I just learned Tulsa, and about Black Wall Street. There are so many things that were never put in the history books that are coming out or that were there and we didn't know. And that is on my resource list. I want people to know there is so much history, sick history for the Black people. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to mention, which or go back to, you mentioned it, being at home. Even in all families, white, Black, Asian, whatever, is always a taboo subject. There is silence in the family. There are things that people do not talk about. And so, of course, that is a microcosm of what then is in our city, our state, our country, our world, right? So yes, it does start at home, not just teaching people about what is happening, but how to talk about what is happening, right? I mean, if we don't talk about it, again, silence is going to be the gift to the oppressor. It's going to be the arms. I can't even think of the weapon for silence is a weapon. And it basically supports oppression. And so if in our own family systems, we cannot talk about things, then how do we talk at a city level? How do we talk at a state level? And how do we talk at a country level? I don't know. I know that having raised my children, I tried very hard to bring up the elephants that were in the room. Why the hell we had elephants in our rooms, I don't know in the first place, but we had elephants. And, but I was really trying hard to make sure that the elephants didn't stand there long, and I think it's really, really important. So I'm really glad that you kind of brought it down to that core, beginning. And when a family can't do that, clearly our culture, our society needs to have a space where we can educate each other, because the silence is in the room of the homes. There are a lot of lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans families who never talked. And when they did finally talk, they don't have families anymore, and so, yeah, we've got a lot of problems. Right. And I know that you said that we may not ever see the changes that need to happen in your lifetime. But do you feel that there is change happening? Do you feel hopeful that we're in the right direction, at least at this point? Or do you feel like, nah, this shit ain't going nowhere?
I actually had this discussion briefly with my friend, and we were we were talking about the mural, Black Lives Matter, and the street sign, Black Lives Matter. And I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she made mention that that made her hopeful. I made mention, well, no, doesn't make me hopeful, because the people who matter to make the change, it's just something to, it's a bandage. And it's just showing you, hey, yeah, look at what we're doing. But in the background, look at what we're doing.
Right.
Look at how we're still behaving. The flip side of that is when they talked about the Pentagon removing the National Guard and the Army from the protests, when they talked about penalizing those who created that harm for the protesters, and I was like, okay, that made me hopeful, because that was an actionable item for me. It wasn't something that they just put out there for show, because they can still do what they do. But when they start making public actionable items come true, that's hope for me. And that's what I saw. And that brought about a little hope for me, because that tells me that, oh, wow, there is some change that need to happen. And we need to do something about this. When they allowed for those folks to remove something that the public thought was indicative of what racism is, with the statues, that was an actionable item for me, and that was like, yeah, there's some hope here, So
I think so.
Again, that's hope. That's hope for me.
Yeah. And it may not ever go at the pace we want it to, right? But
Right.
we've got people, I mean, ever since the 2016 election, we got people now coming out of the woodwork saying, I've never attended a rally in my life before. So it is bringing out, you know, people becoming more aware and wanting to learn and act on things. But yeah.
That's huge. Having said what you just said, to see the white folk out there, the Hispanic, the Blacks, the Indians, the Asians, everybody was out there. And the white folk, it was huge. The babies, that is hope. That is actionable. And that's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have somebody that has their hand up, and I don't know, Brenda, if you have a question you're wanting to talk, or if you want to put your question in the chat. Let me see if I can offer you the opportunity to actually talk. Okay, Brenda, oops, you're on the screen now. I mean, your name is on the screen, but you don't have to show your face, but you want to unmute yourself, you can ask your question. Maybe that was an accident? I don't know. Brenda, did you want to unmute yourself and ask a question? Well, all right. I don't think so. So I'm going to disable that option. Okay, I'm learning. So Brenda, if you do still want to ask a question, if you meant to put your hand up, you can go ahead and type it in the chat. But yeah, there's a comment in here. Thank you so much for your participation, Janet. So much to learn, so much to reflect on in our hearts to make change possible and lasting. Thanks, Misha. And then another person said, well said, actionable. And I think that's the last piece I want to mention to everybody is the sustainable actions. You know, to really think about, maybe you can put it in the chat if you all don't mind, what is one thing that you can do that is sustainable? So clearly I cannot hold webinars every single day of the week, every week. I chose to have one yesterday, today, and tomorrow because it just happened to work out that people had different schedules and I wanted to hear from all those people. And they said yes, so I was really delighted. But I cannot, oh, no worries, Brenda. Okay, so it was an accident, no worries. So technology is a fun thing here. It's also another system that we have to learn. So for me, a sustainable action that I know I can do, at least while I still have some money, is I budgeted $150 a month to donate towards campaigns and associations with Black leaders who can help move this movement forward. So for example, I'm supporting the Jamie Harrison campaign to get Lindsey Graham out of office. I'm supporting the Amy McGrath campaign in Kentucky to get rid of Mitch McConnell. And then I'm also supporting Black Lives Matter. I don't know how many months I can do that, but you know what? Even if it goes down to $10 a month, those are 3 charities or campaigns that I can support on a pretty sustainable level. Other sustainable actions might be that I have a webinar once every week or once every month, something that I can still bring forth to the public and have voices heard and a space to talk and engage. Another sustainable action for me would not be going to a protest, especially with COVID-19, because I'm an at-risk individual for my health. So I'm giving ideas, and I would love in the comments if people would like to write down what is something you're already doing. Oh, another sustainable action, I can read. I've been listening to my audiobook a little bit every day, you know, and I'm learning, right? You talked about education, Janet. So like really being willing to educate ourselves, right? So people can put in the comments a sustainable action that you think you have been doing or would like to do. And I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Janet? As far as sustainable actions or activism?
Actually, I think you covered a lot of where I was at. However, I think that on the public radio station, online public radio stations, there, and you see Davis, there are a lot of films that one can go on and educate themselves and kind of understand the plight that began centuries ago for Black folk. Newsreel, NEWSREEL, is a resource where you can go and look at some of the films that talk about the Black lives and the African American or whomever you choose to call. And it talks about the lynchings and the Jim Crow and how all of that began. So I think that just to, look into those things and get the information and see where it all started and where we are today, and then educate yourself to date about, things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And I would like
Talk
to
about
add
it.
one more thing. What'd you say was the last thing you said?
Talk about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thank you. That's exactly where I'm
Talk about
going, sister. So I was going to tell everybody, and talk to your friends, talk to your color friends, your non-color friends, talk to your children, talk to your neighbors. Somebody asked a very interesting question yesterday, which was they were feeling uncomfortable because they felt like maybe their neighbors thought they didn't like them. And I said, well, have you ever asked them? Have you talked to them? Have you said hello? So I want to really, invite you to start having conversations.
Yes.
Now this can be a dilemma also. Some people were like, well, if I just all of a sudden start talking to them, they're going to think I'm talking to them just because of George Floyd's murder. And I think that as we really show up in the true, authentic, beautiful people that we are wanting to be, people are going to receive us that way. And if they don't, they have their own issues to still work on. And
Absolutely.
we cannot take it personally. I went to a rally a few years ago, and I mentioned this yesterday, and a woman got up to the microphone. She was a Black woman, and she was one of the leaders of the program. And she said, okay, I'd like all the white people, please raise your hand. So we all raised our hands. She said, what do you want, a trophy? What do you want, brownie points? Well, because you're here, you're showing up. Great, you show up once, fine. Show up 10 times? Okay, maybe. You keep showing up? That's something different. And I didn't share the whole story yesterday, but at first it was like, ouch, I'm not here for a trophy. I'm not here for brownie points. And I sat in the discomfort and I thought, what's going on here? And part of me wanted to walk away. Part of me wanted to go home. Like, fuck you, excuse my language. But it was like, I realized, oh, this is deep. And today I know it's even deeper than I realized. 450 years, I'm getting more educated. I mean, I knew it's always been a problem, but I was like, wow, that was deep. And as soon as I turned off the personal statement, I was able to protest and be there for the entire march with love and with perseverance and endurance. And I lost my voice the next day, but the idea was her saying, what do you want, a trophy for showing up, wasn't for me. And I know that because I know who I am.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So
that
we
is huge.
show up. If you want to show up for your friends, show up for your friends.
Yeah.
If you want to text your Black friends or call your Black friends, text or call your Black friends. If you want to talk to your neighbors, talk to your neighbors. You don't have to justify or explain yourself, except to say, the world is falling apart and I want you to know I care before it does. And then it won't fall apart.
There it is.
Right?
That's it.
Ooh, there's some comments. Shoot, I didn't see them. All right, let's see. All right, so somebody said Netflix has amazing series of documentaries. This multitasking is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Somebody
Thank
said,
God it's you.
yeah, thank God it's me and not you. Okay, yeah, thanks. So another person said, keep working, reading with white people to strengthen our activism struggle for structural change. Oh, this is somebody saying that's what their sustainable action would be.
Cool,
Another person said, helping my white friends and family see that the values of white supremacy are a white issue and white people need to solve this. This is not a Black issue that white people need to emphasize with. Okay, yeah, she meant to write white supremacy, but I got it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so the idea is to really demystify, to really tell the truth. Damn it, just tell the truth.
They dispel the myth.
Yeah, dispel the myth. Thank you, my dear. I must be tired. Oh my goodness. So I want to thank everyone for being here, but especially, Janet, thank you for opening. I mean, we haven't known each other long, but thank you for opening your heart to me and to us. And, I see this as a continued growth opportunity, for all of us to be a community and to love each other and to, I would love to, if you're willing to receive, I'd like to ask everybody just to take a moment to put your hand on your heart and send love to Janet, Send love to Janet's family. Send love to the Black communities. And send love to all those before our generations that have suffered and died at the expense of this systemic racism and white supremacy. Sending you so much love. Is there anything you would like to close with, my friend?
Yes, I would really just like to say thank you, Mish. Thank you to all my family, friends, and loved ones. You know, white, Black, Native American, Hispanic, whatever, they've always been in my life. They've always showed up. They've always shown me love. And that's one of the that's one of the reasons why it's so easy for me to reciprocate and to show love, because I've been shown that. And I say thank you, Brenda, Laura. I don't mean to put you out there, but I love you guys, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And you know what I didn't see was there was one question that came in the Q&A. So if people have to hop off, I understand. Can I keep you for a few more minutes, Janet? Just a few more.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this person wrote, in answer to what's on my heart, thank you for this conversation. I'm here to listen, but I sometimes also feel confused about my role, what I can do in the movement to end white supremacy and anti-Blackness as someone raised in a semi-rural working class community that I left 30 years ago. I truly believe that if working class whites realized that the bad agreement they made to be a dog at the feet of the master's table, that the poor in this nation could unite and bring about both the end of white supremacy and an answer to the wealth inequality and injustice that is sustained in large part by the division between poor people, Black and white, rural and urban. I can't reach these people. I've tried. I'm told to turn away from ignorant people who aren't going to change. Any tips for me to open conversation with these people? Or do I just not bother and hope that there is enough power without this group? FYI, there are 66 million white people living below the poverty line. And so the question is, any tips on how to open these conversations with these?
I'm sorry.
Do I ignore
No,
reject them?
I'm sorry. I had to laugh.
Yeah.
Levity is good sometimes, because even though there are 66 point something million white folk living below the poverty line, the way things are today and what the way it was designed, they're still better than us. Let them tell it. And the perception is they're still better than us, because that's the perception. That is a systemic madness. So I love you for that comment. The thing that you can do is don't turn a blind eye. Don't give up hope, because if you lose hope, it'll all continue and it'll be perpetual. If you want things to change, say something. Contrary to whether you think it's on a deaf ear of someone else, one day they will have an epiphany and they'll be, oh, wow, point of realization. So-and-so said to me 1,000 years ago. So whoever you are, please, please stand. Don't allow it to happen. And I'm not saying to, go on and on and on, but sometimes if we just make that comment and say, hey, dude, do you know? Or hey, dude, don't do that. Or hey, those are people, they're human, they don't deserve. You never know how that'll resonate with someone else. Please don't give up hope. Please don't shut down. And please never, ever turn a blind eye. Please.
Well said.
And yes, pray.
And pray, yeah. Pray to whatever you believe in.
Yes.
Pray. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I know it was emotional even before we started the call. So yeah, I just want to thank you again. And I'm going to say, oh, somebody did a question again. Oh, they wrote thank you. Okay, good. She said thank you. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for attending again. I'll send you out an email with my link to my resource list, the books, the articles, the videos, you name it. And Janet, I don't want to put you on the spot again, but if people have more questions, would it be comfortable for you for them to reach out to you through Facebook or something? Or do you want to leave any kind of, you don't know everybody in the registration, so I don't want to put anything out publicly, but if they reach out to me, I can forward that request to you and you can then maybe do something with it if you feel comfortable.
I'm open. How can I ask someone to do something if I don't?
Okay.
So I'm definitely open.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So when I send out that email to all of you with the information and you would like to be able to communicate more with Janet, you can reply to the email and just let me know that you would like to do that. And yeah, thank you, beautiful lady. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna stop the live part on Facebook. I'm gonna turn off my podcast because I'm still learning all this technology. I can't believe it. I'm pretty proud of myself here. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
And I'm gonna stop that one. I do want to stop the live show. Okay. And now
I still see live on Facebook.
uh-oh, it didn't stop.